Resume recording. We're recording. Hi.
Hello. Good morning.
So, good morning. So let's just get straight into it. This is your interview because you're one of my very first breathwork clients. Didn't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't.
Didn't know if you knew that. Yeah. So what was it, like 2019 before COVID?
I think it was 2021 because I've known you since before COVID, but breath work, it was when I broke my leg.
Before you broke your leg.
I broke my leg in January of 2021, and it was right before that trip.
Ah, that's right. So we were talking about getting it set up and then we got set up. So it must have been like in between the lockdowns.
Yeah, maybe.
Because we met at a class, we both participated in Pilates together, and we're like, hey, by the way, what have you been doing? And we had a chat, and
Yeah.
I told you what I was up to.
And I was like, what's breath work? Thinking about it. I've heard the term. What does it mean?
Now you know.
No.
All right, so it was 2021. And
Mm.
this is like before we were doing Zoom sessions. This is probably why my mind thinks pre-COVID, because it was um, handwritten notes in the room in
Yeah.
Werribee.
Yeah.
That's
Melrose
the
Place.
Melrose Place,
Yeah.
where everything feels like home.
That's it. Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Oh, we can do more sessions there soon, I'm sure.
Yes. Good.
All right. So you started in 2021. I'll get the specific date. We can look back at that later. I'll chuck it in the post when I share the video. Um, but we'll just head through the questions and we'll have a chat and go from there.
Sounds groovy.
All right. So I'll need to put captions on. I just remembered. Thank you, Intuition, for reminding me. This helps. Great. Okay. So just cast your mind back to all that time ago, 2021. It's not that far away, but it kind of is. A lot has
A
happened
lot,
since then.
a lot has happened since then.
A lot has
Yes.
happened. So with breath work supporting you through from that beginning moment all the way through to where you are now, what have you valued most about these sessions?
I think, other than the sessions themselves,
Yeah.
be it, a quick half-hour clarity call or a full-on, like 2 hour in-depth. I'm not sure the different, like, I always just go by time when I explain it to you. Jacq, book me for a 1 hour, 2 hour, 30 minute.
Yeah,
Um,
it's kind of cool that you've had all versions of.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Other than those sessions themselves and the I think growth and just aha moments that come from those sessions with you, it's also the ability to be out in the world on my own without you present in a room.
Mm.
And like my knee-jerk reaction is not, oh my God, it's the end of the world. I'm able to, which it used to be. My knee jerk reaction is sometimes, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. But then I'm interrupted by, like, wait, stop, breathe. And the techniques that I've learned and used in the sessions.
Mm.
Um, I think that is, I mean, that's very hard to summarize because there's a lot of other takeaways. But
Mm.
that for me personally, I think is one of the biggest learnings and achievements.
Yeah, so you've been able to practice something in sessions and be able to use it out in life.
Mm.
It's affected you in a way that you're not reacting like you're saying knee-jerk reaction, like reacting in fear or anger or sadness or those big things that we often regret after we've done it.
That's it. Absolutely. Be it at work, be it in a relationship, be it driving on the road, in the grocery store, like just in
All the
everyday life.
things.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
unpack all of those. What would in the past before breath work, what would the things that would normally trigger you into knee-jerk reactions? What would be things like maybe about work? And of course, you can be a bit more confidential with names and things if you need to. But what would it have been in the past? The things that triggered you that no longer trigger you as much or at all?
I wonder if it's like a specific thing,
Hmm.
as much as it's like an example at work is being a career driven female in a predominantly male industry. I work in IT sales. And so oftentimes, there's, and then also coming from the US, there's hierarchy, there's sexism, and not just in the US, it happens everywhere, but
Yeah.
hierarchy, sexism, like I am the CEO, you must do XYZ for me. This is how you must respond in meetings. I think that was like a lot of pressure, is a
Mm,
lot of pressure that I may put on myself or I accept on myself. Um, and so it was always hard to not be, I guess, like my authentic self and vulnerable. And so, but what would happen is I would be in a meeting and I'd be uncomfortable in the sense of like challenged, and I would
mm,
go straight emotional. I would go into feelings and I would probably start crying just in
mm,
overwhelm. Whereas now in meetings, like I can feel if I'm challenged in a sales call or against my boss or a coworker, or challenged or threatened in the sense that I'm not the smartest in the room, which is
mm,
fine.
mm,
um A, I probably didn't think that that used to be fine, but B, now it's like, right, stop, take a breath. What is it that you're feeling? And I can separate emotion from behavior. So I can
mm,
acknowledge I'm feeling scared or threatened or fearful right now. That doesn't mean you burst into tears or you start screaming and yelling back or you get on the defense. So it's kind of just, if that like makes sense, it's allowed me to kind of just be like, right, this feels awkward and uncomfortable. And it's not a 2 hour session between that exact moment and coming to the end. It's literally, this feels awkward and uncomfortable. Stop, breathe. Where do you feel this? Take another deep breath and then separate, and respond, because sometimes you can't dedicate, you know, even 2 minutes to being like,
what am I feeling?
exactly, please hold, like in a
I'm
debate.
offline.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
That's super clear.
yeah, so I think that, and then like in a relationship, like if there's something that's on my mind, or something that's like triggered me, like dishes in the sink or a wet towel on the bed, or instead of being reactive, you kind of just walk into a room, you assess. So it's sort of like given me the ability to respond from here versus operating from here all the time, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yes, that
I'm
makes
happy
so
to.
much sense. It makes
Yes.
sense to me, and it may create anyone who's watching this questions for others. Like, what do you mean we're here versus here? And this is what the work is about, really, to be able to know the difference between one place and the other, and to be
Mm,
able to know where we're coming from before we speak or act.
yeah.
What you said, I've never heard anyone articulate it like this. I'm just writing notes as you say so I can remember what you said. Separate emotion from behavior.
Mm,
That's beautiful. It's not to say don't be emotional, but it's more about feel the feeling, listen to it, express it in a healthy, safe way, whether it be internalized in a work environment, because it's not always appropriate to really express how we feel at the time, which in my ideal world, that won't have to be like that forever. We can actually express what we need to say at the time as a healthy, connective tool for the workplace. Imagine
oh man. Yes,
how amazing that
please.
could be.
Yes.
Um, and then to act from a very centered, present place rather than acting out of a big, explosive, intense emotion. And I
Yeah.
relate to what you said. I used to cry like that the minute I felt or believed that I was being shamed or upset or not good enough or someone's calling me out and making me wrong, all this stuff. Yeah. So well done. It's affected you in your work. It's allowed you to hold yourself and be authentic in challenging situations, which is amazing, especially in a male dominant industry.
Yeah. Even like personally, like the other day I poured a cup of tea and it was this little teapot,
Yeah,
and that you set on a cup and it drains.
yeah,
And then I set that little teapot on the side and the
yeah,
counter, and it started leaking everywhere. And I just stopped and looked at it and was like, that's kind of funny. This is creating a mess. Like, and normally I'd be like, oh my God. normally, like a couple
in the
years
past.
ago in the
Yeah.
past. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even still, there's moments where like my knee-jerk reaction is, oh my gosh, it's gonna make a mess. But
Yes.
it's not like, oh my gosh, it's gonna make a mess. It's the end of the world. It's I literally was like, this is funny. Why is this happening? Okay, so I have to clean it up. Meh. Like, so just even moments of where there's not people around, like if you're trying to hang the washing and you keep dropping it, or you are putting the dishes away and you keep fumbling, like instead of self-talking negatively to myself, I kind of just stop and I'm like, golly gee, this is frustrating. Why is this happening? Versus being like, you idiot, what's wrong with you? That
This is
critical self-talk.
huge.
Mm,
Yeah, so the self-critic, the self-dialogue, the self-talk relationship with self is often one of the most trickiest things for people to work on. And I think when people start doing these sessions, it's normally about, I'm not happy in my job, I'm not happy in my relationships, I don't have enough money, I'm not happy where I'm living, all these big external things, which are all valid, but really it comes in and in and in. It always comes back to self.
absolutely.
So how we behave with ourselves when no one is there is really where the work is.
Mm.
And so for you to be able to be gentle with yourself when you've dropped the washing however many times, I do it too, by the way. I drop a peg. I'm like, how could I have missed this functional ability to just put the peg on the line? Like, come on.
Yeah, that's
And
it.
even like, come on, that language could be a little shaming. You should be able to do it. It's not that hard. The self-talk can just spiral so quickly. And so I love hearing that you've been able to soften and be more gentle with yourself when things
Mm,
aren't going quite right.
absolutely. Yeah.
So they're the subtle things too, aren't they?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
but make a huge impact,
Yeah.
like time and time again. Oh, what's wrong with you? Why do you do that? Oh, I'm so dumb. Like you're just chiseling away at like little self.
Yeah. Being the bully, yeah, the biggest bully.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So you've valued. I love how we can discuss and unpack a conversation. That's the first question. What have you valued from these sessions? And we've already
Mm,
unraveled into many different pathways, which is beautiful. I love that. Um, I think it's important to just check in on how you've gone through before I ask you the next question. You originally started with me in the 5 session program, which is still available for everyone if they are curious. The 5 session program is called Breathe to Be Free, the Breathe to Be Free Academy, if we're going to get fun and rhymey, but Breathe to Be Free. And the 5 sessions was your like kind of testing out the waters, feeling into it. What is this breathwork stuff? Do you remember doing these sessions?
I thought it was 10 sessions, but maybe I just rolled right into the next block.
Oh, thank you. You did the 10 and then you went back to the 5.
Is that what I did? Because I
You
thought,
did.
but
You did
maybe
the
I thought it was
10.
the other way around. You could
Yeah,
have been,
yeah, spot
yeah.
on. Thank you. Thank you for remembering. So typically when people would start working with me, they do the 5 session because
Yeah.
it's a little bit more light, digestible, easy to relax into. And then the 10 session is like, all right, let's go snorkeling. Let's go deep into all
That's it.
the other stuff.
Yeah.
So you did the 10 sessions first, and then you went into the 5 sessions because you had a bit of FOMO too. I remember you like, what was this thing that I missed?
Yes.
And so you've got the experience of the 5 and the 10. And we kind of rinse and recycle because after that, we were like, what do we do now? What's next? And so I
Mm,
created this opportunity for like yourself and other women, a subscription. So you've been doing work with me at least monthly for that whole time since you started. And then we've been kind of pulling from those aspects from the teachings from the 5 or 10 session program and new stuff that I've been adding into your sessions. How have you felt that experience as a journey for you doing this?
I think coupled to, so my very first session, if I recall, was like just a 30-minute understanding what the heck is breath work.
Yeah.
Like, and it was just a quick chat or a 30-minute chat with you around what to expect in the 10 sessions. Because I think I ummed and awed about the 10 versus the 5
Mm,
originally. And then I think I settled with the 10 because I looked at what was offered in the 10 in terms of like guidance,
mm,
because it's not like just you rock up to a yoga or a Pilates or a HIIT class, you work out and you're done.
mm,
It's I think in the 10 session program, there was stuff that came up in a guided forum, like this session is going to be about I remember one of them was specifically around my relationship with my dad. One of them was around my relationship with my mom. One of them was around relationship with finances. Like it just kind of helped me go in because that's how I operate, but it helped me go in with like a um I'm going to Bunnings for plumbing. Do you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it gave me some direction versus
yeah,
being like, all right, what comes up, what comes up. But it has since evolved to let's just see what comes up.
yeah, yeah,
And so I think it was kind of like the learning how to pedal in the first few sessions and unpacking things like finances that I didn't even know was something that I struggled with. And I'm using finances broadly. It wasn't like budget and finances, but it was like my relationship with money. I'm not
yeah,
exactly sure of the specific
yeah,
title.
yeah. You're speaking clearly. I get you. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, but it just helped guide me, like I said, to I don't know if you can relate. I'm trying to relate it for people that would hear. It's like
Mm,
you're going in for arm day, like you're going to come out having worked
yeah,
your arms, that
yeah.
type of thing. And so that really helped me. Whereas now my sessions can literally be 2 hours long and it's Jacq, I think I want to talk to you about something that happened at work. And then I get
Mm,
into a breath work and I'm like, it's not even what happened at work. It's actually what happened on the road driving to the city. So it's the initial sessions really helped me, I just think, learn the process, learn what to feel in my body,
mm,
um, learn the outcomes of things and
yeah, yeah,
how I'll feel different. And I don't want to say necessarily like what to look for because it's not prescribed by any means. It's
yeah.
very, you can start here and end here. And that is not something that I'm very like, do this, do this, do this, do that, do this, do
And
this.
this is the result that you get.
Yeah. And so yeah, I think it's been really good. And then, like I said, so the 10 sessions had a little bit more guidance. I think the 5 sessions also were a little bit guided
Mm,
as well as the subscription. But now I can literally, with the twice a month, I can literally sit down and be like, I mean, I think I've said to you, I don't think I have anything to talk about today. There's nothing. And then you're like, right, let's just see what comes up. And then, bam.
Pandora's box.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So,
That's really clear. Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
think it's too like, I mean, if I could relate it to Pilates, for example, you
yeah,
go in on beginner strings, you might need the instructor, springs, you might need the instructor to show you a few times how to do it or make sure you're going into a deep enough squat or whatever. And then you go to advanced, intermediate, and you kind of just go up.
yeah.
Um,
So it's progressive.
yeah.
Do you
So
like
that,
the guidance from the beginning? And it's kind of like there's this format of we can work together on these key aspects of being a human being and what it is to be human with this life and like so those main areas. And then always come back to them if things are coming up. But that is your guide, that's your practice. And then
mm,
as you progress, you start to really drop into trusting breath, trusting the work, trusting the process and what comes up.
that's
I
it.
actually want to highlight as well how important it is and how much courage you've had to show up for sessions when you think you don't need one and the times where you know you need one and don't want to do it.
Mm.
What was something that got you across the line to commit to the process, knowing the results and the benefits that come from it? What is it that you did? What is it that you were thinking? How did you get yourself in when you, one, didn't think that you needed a session because nothing's really bothering you right now? And two, shit is so intense. I don't want to face it. I don't want to do it.
For me, the shit is so intense, I don't want to do it is something that I absolutely like. I think what got me over it is knowing that I was in a safe space with you and guided.
Mm,
So even if I did have big, scary emotions that came up, um, I would be able to process them and or be guided, like held in a safe space, I
so
think.
the feeling safe is what
Yeah,
allowed you to show up, even if you didn't want to.
that's
The
it. Like
mind, even the mind doesn't want to. I don't want to go because, but you showed up because you felt safe.
absolutely. Like it's like the little kid that, doesn't want to go into a dark room, but then grabs the parent's hand and is happy to go into the dark room, you
Oh,
know? Like
yeah.
it's not but you can understand the kid's imagination. It's scary. And what's in that dark room or under the bed or whatever. When you as the adult, you're like nothing. And so in that instance, I'm the little kid, you're the adult. And I'm so scared of what's under the bed or what's in that dark
Yeah.
room.
Yeah.
Whereas, when you have that comfort of somebody like you as an instructor, those feelings, those feelings are going to be overcomable.
That makes
Okay.
sense. New words are
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. um,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think too, previously, it's, maybe not having a reaction so scary. And I use the word reaction, but like after a session, there's is the word euphoria. There's something that comes up after a session, all sessions, that's just like, I think I use the term like yoga stoned is what I say.
That
Is
is your quote. That is
Yeah,
yours. That
you're
is your
just
saying of yoga stoned.
yoga stoned. It's just like I honestly, there's nothing in the world that I've ever experienced that mimics that feeling of just the relief and the um lightness and the yoga stoned feeling that you feel. And so I think in the first couple sessions, it's maybe not going super deep because you're still learning and you don't know how to get to the root of that, whatever it is you're stirring up.
Mm.
Um, and then yet you still come out the other side. So I've had sessions where it's like ground breaking, oh my gosh, crying, shaking, screaming, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And then you're still like, oh, hang on a second, that wasn't as bad. So there's those sessions, but then it's also the previous sessions where it's like a happy
Mm.
something rather you're breathing through. And so it's understanding that running that half marathon is, and I'm no runner, so this is maybe not a good example, but running that half marathon isn't as bad as you thought it was.
Yeah,
Does that make
yeah,
sense?
that makes a lot of sense. Knowing that every session is different is important to recognize here too. You just said that at the end, that sometimes they're at like a really beautiful blissed out breathe through the whole process. It's not always about big emotional trauma. It's not always about the big scary feelings. And knowing that you feel safe with me holding space for you through the process is what gets you to show up,
Mm.
which is beautiful.
And it also makes you want to kind of like dig into those deep, big, scary feelings because the outcome is not going to be unbearable.
Yes, yeah, I agree, 1,000%. Once I got a taste of what the process was like when I first started, I was like, all right, here I go again. But once we get into it, it's like, am I really doing this again? Do I really want it? Like, what's going to happen? What's going to come up? I don't know what's going to happen. And the dialogue, we have to go through that dialogue to drop in. It's the
Yeah.
process every time. Trust
Yeah.
the process. Let the weight be held within the process. It's so good.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
So values then it feels different or has a different meaning to enjoyment. What have you enjoyed since working with me and doing breathwork or experiencing breathwork? Because it's not a doing thing, it's an experience thing. What have you
Mm.
enjoyed?
I mean, one-on-one time with you is always lovely. Chats. um, I think it's accountability has been really good.
Hmm.
I know that kind of blends with like those moments where like you don't want to go, you don't want to get
Yeah.
up, you don't want to go to the gym, you just want to hit snooze, but
Yeah.
you do it and it's always another tool in your toolkit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I think unpacking things that I didn't know needed to be unpacked, but were contributing to, without like getting too personal, that were contributing to other areas of my life that were like
Mm.
annoying or irritating or just present, if that makes
Mm.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Gosh, I think the growth, the main thing I think goes back to value, and it's just being able to have a lot of tools in my toolkit. Actually, I know what it is. Have a lot of tools in my toolkit to use, but then also teach. So I have a stepdaughter who's 10,
Mm.
as you know, but
Mm.
and I think holding space for her in her big emotions and not reacting how I probably would have or did in the past, as a, as a stepmom, um, and helping her identify versus react, like
Mm,
identify a feeling versus react. Um, because I've obviously done a lot of work through it, and I think
yeah.
everybody can benefit from it. But how can I also try to make those around me who might not be willing or able to, I say able, like my 10-year-old could do it, but ultimately that's not solely my decision. There's other
Yeah.
parents
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah.
And so, helping her through things via the tools that I have learned and have worked for me, just makes walking around the house more enjoyable, or,
Yeah.
holding her accountable, or watching her change and be hormonal and a 10-year-old.
Hmm.
Um,
The flow on effect.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Starting breath work was about the personal growth, but the little extra icing on the cake is how it affects everyone else around you big
That's
time.
it.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I still do it just for me, but
Yeah. Yeah. And that's an interesting angle because some clients come to me from a place of this person is not okay and I need you to help this person and make it better so I can feel better. I'm being very flippant with my cheeky language, but a lot of the time that can be where people are where they are with their challenges. And so it is important to be selfish and it's okay to do the selfish work, to do the inner work. It actually serves everyone else around us when we take care
100%.
of ourselves.
Yeah. And we've
Yeah.
talked about this before, like I'll say things to my partner, or my partner will do something, whereas previously I'd be like, rah, and then he'd be like, rah, back. And now it's, you know, like I don't react. And so then he doesn't react. And then it doesn't bubble up. It's just, and equally, like I can validate his feelings in terms, and my feelings are validated versus nitpick, 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 getting nowhere, right? Like there's
Yes.
actually some growth from it. So it benefits everybody in the house.
Mm.
And I think it too allows people around you, not just my partner, but people around you to be like, what are you doing different? What is it like? It's not a magical pill, it's not a magical drink. It's something that you have in you everywhere you are. You don't have to
Mm.
rock up to a gym. You don't have to, you know, lift heavy
Do
weights.
something. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. You
Yeah.
literally just sit or lay with your eyes closed and breathe, which you're doing anyways.
Yeah, it's just consciously doing it with the process rather than just doing it unconsciously.
Yeah,
There's magic right there. So I wouldn't quite flowing and easy to say it's like magic, but it's not even like magic. It actually is a conscious process, and we all have access to it.
100%.
Yeah, yeah. I love that it's supported you in your home with your stepdaughter and with relationship. And it's those little things, yeah, those like potential conflicts in the home that have a massive effect on how we sleep and how we show up for work and how we show up with other relationships. That for me in the past, that was like what carried the most weight. Those little things that would get to me and they'd accumulate. And then once this work started to be a focus of mine, I was like, ah, all those little things are not so big anymore.
That's it.
Yeah,
Also,
amazing.
too, I think from it's changed my relationship with my parents. Like,
Mm,
I used to have some grudges that I held against my dad. My parents had been through a divorce, and there was grudges that I held against my dad, and it helped me understand maybe where he was coming from.
yeah.
And I like the saying forgive and forget, but it's it wasn't easy for me to forgive and forget and move on. And there's definitely, but like, so I held that, and that was something that I took into every conversation with my dad.
Mm,
Whereas now I view my dad totally different. And whether or not he knew prior to the father session that I had, I don't know. Um, but I just felt this chip on my shoulder all the time with him. And now and I carried that around. One of my professors in college once said, being angry is like holding a hot coal. You're the only one that gets burned.
mm.
And I felt like every time, every engagement with my dad, who's overseas, so it's on the phone now,
Mm.
I'd be like, oh, I'd get so frustrated. Like I'd go into a conversation with such a chip on my shoulder. And he'd
Yeah.
be like, I just wanted to see how your day was. That was it. And now it's like you can come into that conversation and meet people versus having a grudge because that was just weighing me down.
Yeah.
And my dad
Yeah.
was coming at me from like a loving father that loves his daughter unconditionally. Whereas
And
I'm like,
yeah.
meh. Mm,
And that takes courage as a father, right? To actually show up and ask how you are, even though he may know that you might be showing up with irritation
yeah,
and
yeah.
feeling short in your language.
So it's
Yeah.
not even, so it's something that I did. I let go of. I learned to process.
Mm,
Like I said, I don't know that he knew it was affecting me. Maybe he did. Parents have
not
intuition.
necessarily at the depth of conscious awareness that you've unpacked in your sessions, but there would
That's it.
be an energy exchange.
100%.
Yeah. It's a felt knowing that we all can tune into, and some people who don't do this work, at some level, they will sense there's a disconnect.
Mm,
And the power is you didn't have to do any work with him for the shift to happen.
that's
You
it.
didn't have to go to like father daughter counseling stuff. It was literally just do the work on yourself, within yourself, be guided, and the shifts happen. And then you can connect at a deeper level with him.
Yeah. Because I think too, it would be intimidating to have that, sit down and have that face-to-face conversation about, Dad, you did this, blah. Because then he would get defensive so yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I do
Well,
the work in me.
if I ever work with couples, I've I've entertained the idea for the future. I would like to do it differently, where the one person does the work on themselves first, the other person does the self work as well, and then we reset.
Mm,
Because we've got so much baggage individually from our own upbringing, our conditioning, our past, the parents, whatever, all of it. If we bring that into a room, that's just like putting all fireworks in one little spot and just lighting them and see what happens. And I
absolutely.
think that's why relationships and people that we are closest to are our gift for growth.
Mm,
It's like all of these things that annoy me about you. Ah, oh, and I live with you, or I'm like, you're my sister and I, our relationship was so turbulent. And even my dad and I would have explosive emotional arguments a lot of the time. It's like there was a gift, not only for my dad in our relationship, for him to do his work, but for me as the child in that experience too. And yeah, so doing the work as a solo person is almost like the fast track because I'm not waiting
absolutely.
for the other person to do it or to line up or to connect. It's all the inner work that makes the shift.
That's it. And that goes back to like you said it in the last little snippet around, we all have the tools within ourselves.
Yeah.
You don't have to rely on anybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it's I rely on you from as a coach perspective, but um at the end of the day, it's not like you're changing me.
I'm
It's
not doing
me
anything to you.
changing me. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I love that. One of the biggest things that I adored from this work and has kept me coming back for more is that no one is telling me what to do, how to do it, what to
Mm,
think, what to feel. It is like, sure, there's a hand on the shoulder every now and then if they're in-person sessions, or there's a hug at the end of the session if it feels like that's what we need and it feels supportive and it feels connecting. But I don't do anything to you.
mm,
It's all you, which is bad
that's it.
news at the start sometimes, but then it becomes good news.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah,
like, I mean, don't get me wrong, a massage feels good, but you can do it on
yeah,
Zoom. You can do it on the phone. You can do it on speakerphone. You can do it face to face. And I think all of them have different and that's another thing I think I've enjoyed is the flexibility. There's been
mm,
times where I might have to squeeze in a session in between meetings,
yeah,
and it's literally like the same outcome on a Zoom, sitting in a room by myself on a screen as it is laying down with you in the same room.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
Glad you
short,
raised that.
quick. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It can be, I think, like I said in the beginning, it can be a 1 minute breathe. It can be a 6 minute breathe. It could be a 2 hour, not that you're breathing the full 2 hours, but a
Yeah,
session, it's,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
adaptable.
Adaptable and flexible. And I love that because you did start sessions with me mostly in person. And there was a bit of logistical things we had to try and work out when the room was available, when you had time off work and what lined up with me. And Zoom, it just made it more open.
Yep.
to being consistent, which has been great. And I remember you feeling a little resistant going on Zoom because it didn't feel the same
That's
originally.
it.
And now that you've kind of sat into it, it shows that you can be yoga stoned and not have to drive home. You can be yoga stoned and already be at home,
That's it. Exactly.
which is very
Exactly.
beneficial, I think.
Yes.
Amazing. I am conscious of time. I want to keep chatting to you. We're going to try and wrap up in 10 minutes on the dot. Um, I've got a few more questions for you.
Okay.
How did you feel before you had breath work and coaching with me? And how do you feel after?
Um,
Kind of like that's a big question because it's been a while since you started. But if you
yeah,
can cast your mind back to who you were before breath work as a comparison to now.
I would say before insecure, uptight in the sense of like turtle uptight, like just constantly stressed, constantly in fight mode. I think like fight flight mode.
Yeah.
Um, anxious. Um, I didn't really understand. Oh, I dealt with like I had a lot of anger and resentment, but I don't think I knew what it was that I was feeling, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
So how was your behavior? This is how we unpack it in coaching, right? So if you didn't know you had the feeling because you hadn't learnt about the feeling yet, how do you know
Yep.
it's there? So what was it that you didn't like in your behavior?
I think it would be the knee-jerk reaction I spoke about earlier, where like if somebody cut me off, I'd be like, oh, like
Yeah.
grunting and
Yeah.
growling
Yeah.
explains what it felt like. But
Yeah.
it would yeah, my responses would be short, not something, not kind, which
Yeah.
is not who I would like to be and who I feel I've become. Um,
Yes.
so I think that those, I don't think I knew anger, and I'm not the type of person that like angry, I want to go punch a hole in the wall, but I would get angry like in my relationship. If I am pushed, not even just in my relationship, but probably because of COVID and I live with my partner, like if I feel challenged and backed into a corner, I will say things that I don't mean that are really nasty. I
Mm,
used to say things
mm,
that I don't mean that are really nasty to try to shut the person up so that I can run, I can escape.
mm, mm,
Um, and so that's where the anger would come from.
mm.
Um, whereas now I can identify that that's mean, that's damaging, that's not who I want to be.
Yeah.
Um, so previously, like I said, like angry, frustrated, um, anxious, insecure,
Shows
constantly
up
my
as
head was,
irritable, kind of like unknown
yeah,
anger and unknown resentment can come up. You said reactions and short responses and being unkind is really great way to describe unknowingly where the that we have anger inside. And then not liking those reactions is also a signal to go into anger because we end up being angry with ourselves, yeah? That we don't like
yes,
what we just did or said.
yeah, or you regret, yes, yes,
Yeah, and then feeling
yep,
bad about it. So there's shame that's right next to irritation and anger about certain behaviors and circumstances. It all calls back into what is the feeling that I have been avoiding or suppressing or fighting or not tuning into.
that's
And if you
it,
don't know that it's there, you've just been cycling through this pattern of trying to be nice, getting into conflict, reacting, irritated, and then repeat.
yep.
Yeah,
I
super
picture it
clear.
like a fishing line where it's like a fishing line is all knotted and tied up, and like this is how I was before, a fishing line or a necklace or something that's like all tied up in a knot, and you just keep pulling at it, and it just gets tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. Um,
Mm.
Whereas now it would be that I have the tools and the availability to the acknowledgement. I don't think availability is the right word.
Yeah,
Like the acknowledgement, the know-how to literally stop and be like, assess. Okay, pulling this tighter is just going to be damaging. How do you loosen this necklace? How do you loosen this? So I think, like I said in the beginning, it's from being operating at 100 to operating at I wouldn't say I operate at zero unless it's right after a breath work session, but then life happens and you get into a meeting or somebody cuts you off or you have to go do, something you don't want to do. Um, but it just kind of brings you down a level or
Mm.
50 levels of on tightness. Not
Yeah. So
like
when you say like tightness is like pressure and force and driving and trying to make something happen or trying to change something, but if you can just stop. When you were describing the necklace, I imagine just like the breath is what creates the space for it to unravel.
unravel. Yep,
That, and then all of a sudden
exactly.
you can see where the things are tangled and how to just one little knot at a time.
That's it. It's kind of like what's a good example of, when you bake a cake or something, and then there's a big bubble or a pizza, right? You're baking a dough or something, and then you pop it and it's just like, or a blister. You know what I mean? Like the relief that you get from like,
Yeah,
oh, that pressure, all that, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts. I don't know if it hurts in the cake or bread or whatever, but do you know what I mean?
we haven't asked the
Like,
cake.
yeah, that's it. But like a blister where it's just irritating and it's there and it's annoying and it's like, oh, it's on the forefront of your mind because it's so irritating.
Yeah.
But then you pop it and it's like, oh, why didn't I do that ages ago?
And what would stop you from going into it? It's normally fear,
Fear that it's going to get worse or that it's going to hurt when it pops.
fear of pain,
Yeah.
fear of not knowing. They're two big golden nuggets in what you described. That's really, really amazing. There's insights in that. A fear of pain and a fear of the future of what's going to happen. We don't know. They're two big things that breathwork has helped with.
Mm. Add fear to that list of before.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Whereas, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here saying everything's hunky dory, but I
No,
definitely
no.
all the time, but I definitely have, which is why the subscription has been great because, you know, things do come up or there's things that I'm ready to unpack that I didn't realize that I
Mm,
was suppressing,
yeah.
or not dealing with or pushing down.
Mm,
Whereas, like I said, for me, it's being able to go out and just come from a better place
yeah, yeah.
in ongoing sessions, but in life, in relationships, in who I show up as.
Mm. And so now you are more of what, how would you describe how you are now since you've been doing the work?
I would say I'm more calm. I'm more I I don't operate as in much in fear or anger or resentment.
Mm,
Like I think it's like I just come from a different place of, oh gosh, I don't know how to sum it up.
tricky to put words into it, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
it's a state of experience in a heart state versus in stories and body reactions and
Mm,
yeah,
words.
the physical, the
Yeah.
words, yeah.
Yeah.
So calm. You sound like you're more in your heart center.
Mm. But I'm just mindful that that might not make sense to people who've never
Mm,
done it before.
mm. So what would
Um,
your behavior be like with stepdaughter, with hubby, with work? How are you showing up in those places now since you've been doing the work? That might be a good way to describe it.
yeah, I think it's more understanding,
Mm,
more open to differences, maybe.
yeah,
Um, I think from like my stepdaughter's perspective, um, not like I want to say not like less controlling,
yeah,
but um, in terms of like you got to go to bed on time. You have to, there's still definitely routine, but it's not, there's a little bit more kindness that's like, right, time to do your chores. Okay, there's a time and a place for this,
yeah.
as opposed to the delivery of my tone
Your
being,
tone.
yeah,
Yes.
being drill sergeanty maybe, or not kind.
The to-do list, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm, yeah,
Um, I think at work, for example, like I'm able to go into meetings or discussions or debates kind of like with the confidence of like, bring it. I can, not like a fight or flight, but just like I can conquer anything that's going to be brought up.
Yeah.
Or I can feel confident in saying I don't know the answer to that, and not self-shaming, then being like, me not knowing the answer means I'm dumb, or I'm those types of things.
This is a practice saying I don't know with a smile on our face. I don't know. I don't know. As opposed to I don't know, fear,
Yeah,
embarrassment, shame. Yeah, that's beautiful.
yeah,
Beautiful. Thank you. Do you want to add
yeah.
something else to that?
No, I mean, I could try to unpack it, but
That's okay. I've got another really big question for you.
okay, go, 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 go.
What would you say to others about me as your coach or the experience of breath work to inspire them to give it a go?
Nike might kill me, but just do it.
You know how many people have said that?
Really?
I'm trying to think. I think Beck in her interview the other week to the Senate, and Sarah in her case study, she said the same thing. Just Nike, just do it.
Just
Everyone's
do it.
free. Just do it.
Honestly.
Yeah.
I would say, oh gosh, I don't think there's enough words or time to explain just how opening, like door open policy, nothing is off limits, supportive, um, the environment is. I don't know if maybe it's because I hated school growing up, but I always was intimidated by like teachers or instructors that I'm doing it wrong, or they're gonna, there's a better way to be doing it, or how I should be doing things. But I think even just from the start of being like, Jacq, what's breath work? I don't understand it. Like you just kind of opened the door and told me and showed me. And it's not like a cookie cutter response for everybody, obviously, right? Like it,
Mm.
it
Every
can,
session is so different with each person.
yeah. But you're able
Yeah.
to just like be there and be like, right, where are we going? How are we doing this? Are we going to juggle over here? Are we going to juggle over there? So it's just been, um, so yeah, I feel safe. I feel welcomed. Um, I think it's just in my head still. I'm like, it's so hard to give an elevator pitch of what breath work is. Um, you know, like a
Yeah.
laptop is something you do blah, 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 blah on. Breath work is not something that you do four things on because it can just be so broad and
Mm.
fantastic.
It's
Um,
for everything,
yeah,
which is
honestly,
why my marketing coach is always like, "You've got to niche down, Jacq." I'm like, I can't. Breathwork is for everyone and everything. But it is. It's
everything.
that's probably the beauty of it, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's like you go to the gym because you want to get big arms or you want to be lean or you want to be strong. Like it's not like that. You can't compare it to anything that everybody would know. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like
mm.
um
That
just do
makes
it.
sense. Just
Just
do
to
it.
have like a even have a session, go through a 15-minute breathwork session, cameras off. Like if you're
Yeah.
intimidated, I think
Yeah.
just, it can even be over speakerphone, just the guidance that you get. And I wouldn't even compare it to meditating because I struggle to meditate
Mm.
to like,
Solo.
sorry, excuse me. Absolutely. Yeah. I struggle to do it because I find my mind just races, but it's not even like that. Honestly,
Y-
there's nothing in the world I feel like I compare it to. Just do it.
Yeah, just do it. And
Start
I think
small.
you've hit it on that too with the it's not like meditation. And if you find that you get frustrated with meditation, you're almost cutting yourself off the possibility of going into breath work. Because I
Mm,
was the same. I used to get so frustrated with picking the right recording or listening to it and getting distracted that I just give up. But having the present connection of a coach, someone guiding you through breath work, meditation is like just the front cover of the book to
mm,
do the deeper work, and having someone to support this and the process, there is a recipe for success in that.
mm.
You're not doing it on your own. Even me as a coach now, I love being held. I love someone facilitating me through a session. As I get in my head and I'm trying to figure it out and I'm trying to ask myself the questions and I miss the process.
Yep.
I miss the experience. So having the coach to guide through is what I value. And that sounds like they're the words you're trying to get to with what you're describing. Being
Yeah,
stuck on not loving meditation. It does work. Just do it. Just try it. Just experience it.
absolutely. And I think that you kind of just have to jump in, you
Yeah.
have to, it's not like you can't compare it to scuba diving where you're going to see gorgeous fish underneath, like, and people can visualize under the sea. You know what I mean? It's not like that. It's just a feeling that everybody has and everybody can tap into themselves,
Mm.
and it's not like anything else I've ever experienced in my 30 plus years. I'm not going to just divulge my age, but 30 plus years of life.
A number, just a number.
And I've had some good glasses of champagne. I've had some, I've had good workout sessions. It's
Yeah.
not literally, I've had great night's sleeps. But no, there's literally nothing that you can compare it to that.
Mm, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Thank you. I wish we could do more time, but I know we've got to finish up because you've got some stuff you've got to get onto. But I realized I need to ask you about your TMJ and some physical things that have come up. And I was like, oh, these things that could be great examples.
Blimey, we can do a part two.
We can do a part two.
Yeah,
We could do a part two.
we could.
Thank you. That'd be nice. And look,
Yes.
this is something Cindy did this with me the other week, and after she finished the interview, she's like, "Oh, I wanted to say this. Oh, I wanted to say this as well about breath work or my experience." So if you have things that come up for you after this interview that you'd like to share, please chuck them in the group and just message it as a post or save it, and we can do part two if you have time, because I know you've got some really important things happening for you at the moment.
Yes. I'm equally like, I'm happy to chat to people, kind of like a case study in the sense, like if there's somebody that's like, thanks, Jacq, but can I hear it from somebody else as well? Like
Mm,
I'm happy to have a conversation or an email or a text
thank
message
you.
or, just to chat about a specific
A question,
something
what
that
they
somebody might be having. And if I've experienced the same thing, like if that can be helpful to anybody,
yeah.
I'm happy to do that as well.
Thank you. That's lovely. I might put in a post on the group or a little chat box and say anyone who wants to ask Lara questions about her experience, they can reach out to you from there.
Absolutely, because you'll have people that have only had, 3 or 4 sessions. It might be like, oh, what did I do? What am I getting into? And, or you'll have people that might be hesitating to take the first light leap of a session. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's very kind of you. Thank you.
yeah, of course. That's the best thing ever. Just do it.
Just do it.
Don't
The
tell
best
9
thing
people,
ever,
just
just
do
do it.
it.
Well,
That's
thank you
it.
for your time, a very
Thank
generous
you.
time, and it's very valuable time to share. And I can't wait to put this up so everyone else can see it and be a part of it. And we'll do organize part two when we can.
Sounds good.
Lots of
Lovely.
love. I'll take the recording off.
Thank
And
you.
thank you.
Ciao.